compared to the other R's at that time as like far right.
No, that's actually incorrect, Abby. That's totally incorrect, Abby. Abby, that's totally wrong.
Cheney was defense secretary. Yeah, and they were basically, Cheney basically said, Cheney is an old school traditional Republican. And somebody, one of these supply side guys came in and said to Cheney, like, let me explain to you supply side economics. And it was the same thing that Bush said. It was voodoo economics. He's like, what we're going to do is we're going to lower taxes and we're going to do all this and it's all going to work out. We're going to increase military spending and lower taxes.
1962.
Oh, so
yeah.
Goldwater.
Yeah, but the thing is, he was 51.
Maybe they were considered extremists in a way, but they were not what we would consider far right. I mean, they were, if anything, kind of to the left of the, I guess you would call them now like paleocons, like Richard Nixon and so forth.
He was considered far right by the Republicans at the time in 1970.
I mean, Buchanan was the really far right.
But that's what I'm saying. Like
he was frightening.
He was
really frightening.
Pat Buchanan was more the old school Republicans, similar. I guess you could say more similar to Nixon than Goldwater.
No,
he was not old school Republican. Old school Republicans are more centrist, just like old school Democrats are more centrist.
Kind of like the Rockefeller Republicans. Yeah. No. The thing is, so like I was saying, he switched in 1962 when he was 51, but he had already made an ideological shift in the 50s. So he was still a Democrat in name, but he was on.
But when was he shifting from Democrat to Republican? When did that happen?
Officially, party registration 62. Ideologically in the 50s. From about 1954, he started.
Yeah, he was a Goldwater disciple.
Because he was.
I didn't know that. I didn't think of that. I thought about that it was his father-in-law who convinced him to become a Republican.
No, he was a Barry Goldwater guy, and he knew Barry Goldwater personally.
He was a TV host on General Electric Theater.
On General Electric, I remember that.
And then he started promoting GE publicly, and as part of that, he started shifting his explanation about American prosperity, and he would visit GE plants across the country and give speeches.
So
there were some other things about him that I found a little bit. His wife was a little bit troubling. He had to be. Once he was shot, every single trip he took was predicted. She used an astrologer.
Yeah.
She was so terrified, so she used an astrologer. So all of his movements and everything was determined by an astrologist.
That's true love, Meryl. We should all be so lucky to have love like that in our lives.
I read the love letters that he wrote her, but listen, this is the one thing, though, that we all condemned Joe Biden, saying, that he was not completely alert, let's say, at the end of his presidency. Neither was Ronald Reagan. He already was
absolutely was not
with Alzheimer's, and he fell asleep at the Russian summit, and he was caught sleeping at the Russian summit. But he was already in the stages of early Alzheimer's.
But he had a vice president that was, and Bush Sr. that was absolutely unbelievable. Probably the best person we've ever had in the White House.
Now let's talk about Bush Sr. Bush Sr. was not a conservative.
No.
He was for the Equal Rights Amendment. He and Barbara were very, very, I'm not going to say they were Democrats, they weren't, but they were very liberal in some of their policies of how they thought about.
Who would you say they were like today in the Republican Party?
Meryl.
What happened to Nick? What's the answer to my question? Who would be that today?
Reagan got the nomination and asked him to be vice president. He clicked overnight. He became immediately was the conservative, and then when he no longer was president, went back to being more more liberal in his in certain policies.
I mean, even Reagan. I mean, he spoke conservative ideology, but he was often very pragmatic in terms of what he actually did.
Well, I see it for me now, and Abby, you might not like this, but all the Republicans that run right now, when you look at people that are running and you look at people that are in Congress, one of the things that I'm not going to say almost all of them, but many of them, they have to say that the election was stolen. They still do that.
No, they don't all say that. I know so many that don't say that.
Abby, listen carefully to what I said. I didn't say all of them. Many of them still do. You just had he just testifying before Congress for confirmation. He wouldn't say that Biden won the election. Everybody,
Yeah, but
they're
it
all
doesn't mean
trying
that.
to death of Trump. Nobody wants to be primaried by Trump. And when you look at all of the Republicans that are running, including people you might endorse, Abby, they all say they are Trump, they're conservatives and their politics are more like Trump. They seem to want to say that because I don't believe it, but I believe I believe some of them are just bursting, wanting to bash him, but they're not going to because they want to win.
But I can only think of a handful.
Pardon?
I can only think of a handful that would have said the election was stolen. That tended to be some of the bigger loudmouths some of them aren't even in Congress anymore.
I agree.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example.
They're not the voice of the Republican Party, Merrill. I hear what you're saying, but I go and I listen to these speeches and they come to our conferences. I haven't heard one of them. And we have a lot of them that present to us that have talked about the election being stolen. None of them, the main ones in Senate, like Tom Cotton or Cruz doesn't say it. I mean, go through the bigger personalities in the Senate. You don't hear from Graham. They're not saying the election's stolen. The outliers, Pepe's right. The Marjorie Taylor Greenes, or the Matt Gaetz, and they're not there anymore. I'm trying to think of who still says it, but I really don't hear it anymore. Thank God. By the way, thank God that you don't hear it. That would be horrible.
I can tell you some.
Are you going to say that they are not Trump supporters? Are you going to say that they?
No, I didn't say that. I don't think that one has to do with the other. They don't say it.
Yeah, see, I'm with Abby here. I think politics is artful, right? And I think we're getting to a place, especially as Trump is a lame duck, where you can now say you're for Trump. And I think Trump has discarded this narrative, right? Because he's just bored. And I think he's a second term lame duck president. And I think he's, which most presidents in their second term turn to the world because domestically they can't do business with anybody. And so he's running around doing things like Venezuela and Iran. No, I'm with Abby on this. I think people are discarding this narrative because
You're talking about the voter. You're not talking about the people in Congress.
Oh, I'm talking about go through the list of Mitch McConnell is not saying it, okay? And I mean, how long was he in power? Running it. Thune is not saying it. Who's majority leader? I mean, I'm not hearing it from Marsha Blackburn. I go through the list of them.
Yeah.
You talked about somebody. Was it in South Carolina or North Carolina? A Republican who was a candidate. He had been, I believe, the head of the Republican Party. And you actually you put in
Watley
chat that you support. You thought he would be great. He was an election denier.
I mean, I had
talks about that.
Right, but Meryl, as you pointed out, a lot of them say that not necessarily because they believe that, but because they're concerned about pressure that would be put on them. They would be primaried against. Yeah, well,
I like
running. A lot of people who are running have taken that off their websites. They used to have it on their websites.
Oh, I like Watley. I think he's a really smart guy. I think he did an amazing job with the RNC. He's a good, facilitator. I liked him. I mean, I don't remember if that was his mantra. It's definitely hasn't been his mantra. I mean, now the party is what, Laura Trump and I mean, is he still?
Well, I think that's
Well,
because
Abby, I was-
father wants, because Trump.
Right, but I'm not praising Laura Trump. I'm just talking about Michael Watley. I mean, I thought he was a very strong leader of the RNC. Where was Ronna McDaniels on it? I don't remember her position when she was running the RNC. If she did
I mean, we actually mocked them. I think Republicans, especially, of course, I think they would try their best not to publicly do it, but most Republicans kind of laughed at people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the people that were really big into pushing the election was stolen and that kind of stuff. I mean, these people were kind of loony ideologues.
But you have to remember, her constituents voted for her. So it is when it's practical for some of them, they say it. When they don't think it's practical, they remove it off of their website.
Okay, so
they
let's
did
go.
It about abortion.
But Meryl, look at who are the power or really up and coming senators. I forgot about this one, who's like one of my most favorite, is because it's in his first term, is Dave McCormick, who's the new senator in Pennsylvania. He is not an election denier. I've never heard him say that. He's also has a fabulous future within the party, and represents a state that's kind of a purple state. And, take a look at Dave McCormick. The views are, I don't know if you would consider them extreme. I think he's a mainstream Republican.
All right.
Have not heard it from him. I'll throw that name out.
Let's talk about it this way. All right. Every single person that Trump appointed in his administration, every single one would not say that Joe Biden won the election. They would not say it. The most they would say was, well, he's our president. That's all he was our president.
Has Rubio said that?
Hold on, please let me finish.
Okay.
Rubio, you know what I find I know you love Rubio. I want to tell you something. I wanted Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. I thought, here is the voice of somebody with experience and someone who's going to stand up to Trump. He's not going to be the sponge. He's not going to fold like everybody else is doing. And I think that Marco Rubio, the best thing that he can do by the end of this administration is remove himself, get further away from Trump and not do Trump's bidding for him, because he is smarter.
I agree.
He's the only one that I really wanted to see. And when I look at but every single one of the Republicans confirmed every single one of the people that had absolutely no right being in that administration. They had no qualifications. They're terrible. And I know the question was asked about what would be the three things that you would do. The first thing I would do would be, of course, I'd get rid of all of them. I would put experienced, well-qualified people in there. And when you talked about the fighting terrorism, the DOJ got rid of that, and the FBI got rid of that. They don't do that anymore, the terrorist investigations. I bring that back.
So, Abby, I was going to try to take a stab at answering your question about who in the Republican Party today would be most similar to George H.W. Bush. So my initial reaction was nobody, because he had quite extensive experience. Because before becoming president, he was a congressman, he was a UN ambassador, he was the chair of the Republican National Committee, he was an envoy to China, CIA director, and of course, vice president. But in terms of overall establishment temperament, I would probably say Mitt Romney comes very close. He is, of course, retired now.
Besides, business.
Yeah.
He was
he's business-oriented, political family, institutionally conservative. He was an internationalist, and he's uncomfortable with populism. If you want to talk about in terms of who has a similar moderate, pragmatic, New England-style Republican, you got Susan Collins and Phil Scott. A bipartisan governor type, you got Larry Hogan. You got Nikki Haley, of course, as an internationalist Republican, and Chris Sununu.
When you say internationalist, what exactly are you referring to?
Internationalist?
In other words, not a nationalist.
Globalist. Pepe, a globalist.
well, I wouldn't call it a
So
globalist site.
Sununu is interesting because Sununu and Hogan both came out against Trump with Chris Christie. They all
Yeah, that's
joined
true.
that anti-Trump bandwagon. And it's sad that Hogan lost of the, the net present governor, and he ran for Senate in Maryland, but he was like from the Chris Christie camp of, I don't know, what would you call them? What Merrill was describing as these
Well, which ones? Like Sununu, I would
old
say.
Republicans.
I would say, yeah, Sununu is like a New England Republican.
Yeah, they're from the
dynasty.
Northeast. The Northeast. I feel like they can only churn out one type of Republican. And
Well,
they have
it's
done
a type.
for a while.
It's a type of Republican, yeah. Like
Are
the
you
Super-
serious? You guys want a Lindsey Graham fucking Republican and a
No,
fucking,
he's a fucking fruitcake.
Yeah,
And
well,
I don't
who was
think
the
that.
last guy? Who was the last guy you talked about? Who was the fat
Lindsey
guy?
Graham's kind of a tricky one because he's all.
No.
over the place.
Sununu,
Who was the
Chris
fat?
Christie.
Man, you guys don't like Chris Christie, do you? Like,
I want to say something about Chris Christie.
oh my
So
god.
besides that he's a Springsteen fan, but we'll leave that aside. The hardest, I've said this in rooms, and you can fact check me on this, the hardest job for a governor, the hardest gubernatorial position in our country is the state of New Jersey, to be a governor there.
Yeah, makes sense.
The amount of responsibility and what falls under the purview of the governor's office is greater than any other state. And if you look at, he has to appoint judges. I mean, he has stuff that other governors don't have to do. And if you talk to people in New Jersey, it's a funny place because it's a blue state and they elected him. And he was a popular governor, in terms of his policies, etc. I mean, so, and he came out totally against, first of all, he was with Trump. He prepped him for the debate in the first round, but he came out completely, against Trump. Yet, I don't think you can take away.
But still, Abby, don't you think?
Scott, he was popular. Forget the Bridgegate stuff. I mean, he was a popular governor there.
But Abby, don't you think Chris Christie's popularity, right, he actually was a conservative? Like, Trump's not a conservative. Trump is a bombastic. Yeah, I mean,
Chris definitely not a conservative. Yeah.
Chris Christie is a conservative, right? I mean, I mean, he's and conservatives evolve. I mean, this is part of the thing. Like, when you look at a guy like Chris Christie, part of his conservatism is evolution, right? I mean, he's, look, whenever I see Chris Christie on the media, he's the most sensible person speaking, and he's center right. I mean, he's, and I say this as someone that's not a conservative, right? But I mean, I think we could use probably more Chris Christie conservatives in the country to balance me out.
Okay, go to the 17 people that were up when Trump ran the first time. Do you remember all the 17 candidates?
John Kasich,
okay, so Kasich, right? Jeb Bush. All right, so what were your thoughts about
Jeb Bush they thought was going to win?
Absolutely, a lot of money was behind him. So what were your thoughts on Kasich and on Bush?
All right, I personally, remember I said yesterday, I don't know if you were in the show yesterday, I am a Democrat. However, I always look at the Republicans who are running and remind myself, which ones do I think would be good? If they win, can I live with that? Are they going to be good for our country? I might not agree with all their policies. However, I can still look at a Republican and say, I could live with this. And Jeb Bush was one. And I know everybody thought he was a warmonger, but I thought Jeb Bush was the smartest of all the Bushes. So I liked Jeb Bush. John Kasich, I liked him. I did not like a lot of his policies, but I did like John Kasich.
What about Vivek?
By the way, Mitt Romney, I will tell you that I know many Republicans who would not vote for Mitt Romney because if he had been allowed to run for president as Mitt Romney, the governor, they would have, everybody, even I would have considered him. It was when he was told he had to, they were marketing him as too far to the right for people who were used to him being governor. And that was the problem. That was the problem. And but I think that, and then he came back. And then he came back and became who he really was. And then
Who else was in that group, remember?
You also have
who
the big
ran
Robbie
against
Tommy.
No, remember the 17 I'm talking about? Who?
Yeah, I know all of them.
Rick Santorum.
Oh, right, I forgot about him. Okay, he was to the right.
Well, you had Walker Santorum.
Oh, Walker. Wait, Walker. Do you remember Wisconsin?
Governor of Wisconsin. Yeah.
Scott Walker. Yes.
Yeah, Rick
Popular.
Santorum.
Right. Wait. Hold on Scott Walker. Popular governor, right?
Yeah.
There were some issues that later.
By the way, Santorum, it came out. He won Iowa that year. I mean, it was when they sorted out all the votes. Santorum won Iowa. I was a Santorum fan, actually.
Well, do you want to know why Trump won? Why some really good Republicans didn't win? That's the
Because
press.
he's better than
the
the
media. No, the media. He's so
This is easy.
You gotta give him some credit because
He had 20% name recognition, right?
But they were covering all of everything he said and did, and we weren't getting all the other rallies. We weren't getting that.
But Trump had to face a 3-man field. Let's say it was Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz, and that was the field. Trump would not have won that election, right? I mean, he was able with 20%.
He ran against Ted Cruz. Don't you remember who was?
Scott came. Meryl's right. It came down to the 3. It was Kate. Because I remember I was in fact there was 18,000 of us at that policy conference, and it was 3 people presented, and it was Cruz, Trump, and Kasich. Those were the 3 that were left. Do you remember? It kind of came down to those 3.
And they could have been more different.
They were so different.
But I'm saying, if Trump had to start that race with 3 people in the field, like a normal Republican field, the reason Trump won, I mean, I remember, one of those debates where he was like, Kasich says something different, right? And Trump pulls out a scrumpled piece of paper and says, you know what? The reason I'm like in the middle of the stage, okay, is because I'm like at the top of the polls at like 20%, you're like 2%. That's why Trump won. I mean, he could not, I don't think Trump could have won if it was a normal primary without 16 people.
Yeah, he definitely benefited from having a lot of people for a couple of the reasons that you're saying. So one is he already had high name recognition, which gave him relatively high poll ratings. And then the other thing he was very clever at, if you remember, doing against the 16-17, whoever was the new number 1 that week, he became like their number 1 opponent. And he would just like constantly attack that person. And he would drop.
Do you know what he did to Ted Cruz?
Well, he would drop his previous.
It was awful what he did. What he said
that he attacked the week before.
Immoral. I mean, it was so terrible.
What he did to Ted Cruz is more than until we had learned about the National Enquirer bit. We didn't know that. Do you remember how he accused Ted Cruz of having put nude photos of Melania, spreading nude photos of Melania?
Oh, yeah.
And do you want to know who gave the nude photos to the Enquirer? It was Trump. He did that in order to blame Ted Cruz. And he also said, about your father being with having breakfast with Lee Harvey Oswald and all of that stuff. And Ted Cruz fell for it. Ted Cruz did not fight back. Ted Cruz, he said, don't talk about my wife that way. But then he just was a sponge. He just was weak.
None of them were good at responding to his style of attacks. And they didn't even try for many, many weeks. And it was only at the very end when Rubio and a few others tried to copy Trump's style, and it didn't work very well.
It didn't work, no.
Where is the country going, and how long will you live in the past?
Oh, absolutely not. You like best times.
I had a friend who was a reporter at the time, and we talked about the coverage and the coverage of the rallies and the things that Trump would say. I'm sorry.
I don't know what he was.
What happened?
Wait.
Oh, here's Jane.
So can you go back to?
Can I just say one thing real quick, Abby,
What?
about because you brought up Dave McCormick earlier.
I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in a lot of ways he has some similarities with George W. George H. Bush, and he has that plus like a Trump adaptation, I would say, but they're very, very similar backgrounds.
Really nice guy too, Euro. He's just pleasant and not like.
Well, he's a
Have
West.
you? You see him a lot on TV in Philly, but.
Yeah, well, he's a West Point graduate,
Yeah.
and he also got an MA and PhD from Princeton. He was a former CEO of Bridgewater, so it's like one of the world's largest hedge funds. And he served in the George W. Bush administration as Undersecretary of the Treasury for International Affairs.
I door knocked for him. I flew back to Philly and went into Montgomery County and door knocked, and people. That was a very close race. You remember Casey wouldn't. What do you call it? He wouldn't. What do you call it? Concede. Thank you. It was a very close race. But can I go back to the 17? I'm still trying to remember everyone that presented. Remember that debate with Megyn Kelly with the blood in her eyes?
Yep.
With Trump. So
and blood,
they were
everywhere.
all on stage. That was in Cleveland.
So you had who did I say? Walker, Santorum. You had Marco Rubio, obviously. You had Rick Perry. You had Rand Paul.
Rick Perry. I forgot about him.
Well, it was the most talented primary field I've ever seen.
Until he couldn't name the different things that he remember. He said there were 5 things he was going to name, and he couldn't remember them, or even 3. It was 3. That was the end of him. That was the end of him.
And he couldn't. Yeah. And the problem was he's the one that brought up the 3, so that makes it really, really bad. It's like I got 3 things I want to change, and they are 1 and 2. Oh, I can't remember the third one.
Can't remember the third.
Yeah, so it's like it just instant loss of credibility, right?
As a Democrat watching, you looked and you said, okay, that's the next Saturday Night Live sketch. You look at them, and
that was really bad.
The same thing. Democrats had the same thing, but it was you looked at that one and said, "Oh, that's going to be on Saturday Night Live. That's it." And that was the end of him.
Yeah,
and he made a joke about it. He was very self-deprecating about it as well. So
yeah, that one's embarrassing. It's just like you had some vice presidents like that were just really terrible speakers.
Dan Quayle.
Yeah, Dan Quayle's the one I was thinking of. I couldn't remember his name. You had Rand Paul, the senator from Kentucky, who ran. Pataki, governor of New York, former governor of New York. Kasich, the governor of Ohio. He would have been an interesting candidate, maybe.
I liked Kasich. Not all of his policies, though, but at the end, when we were coming down to the end, I was looking and saying, now, which one could I live with? I could live with Kasich. I had some faith in him. So remember, he also was one who took issue with Trump saying about grabbing women by their genitals or whatever. So
why did Jeb Bush implode, and whatever happened to him?
Jeb Bush didn't implode. He just couldn't get. What happened with Jeb Bush is you have to remember. First of all, they had him out there. They had him out there saying he's going to win, he's going to win, he's going to win, and it's in the very beginning. And along comes Trump. And Trump is saying the most outrageous things at his rallies, and the press that's all they're doing is covering the outrageous things.
And also, do you remember, Meryl, the one thing? So first, I think Jeb Bush was a laboratory candidate, right? It's the person you create in a lab, right? Like, oh, this will be the great guy. But do you remember in the debate when he said, it was an early debate, and he said, my brother kept us safe. And Trump says, not on 9/11 he didn't. And that was it. I mean, that was it. I mean, that was the fait accompli, right? I mean,
But his brother had nothing to do with 9/11. So,
no, but I mean, it just was a fumble, right? I mean, it was just.
Yeah, I know. But,
It was just one of those moments where.
Well, there were two other things about Jeb Bush. He was married to somebody, I believe she was Latin, and he was not hard on immigration.
Fluent Spanish speaker. Fluent Spanish, yeah.
Pardon?
I think it just had more to do with the fact that Trump was all over whoever was the favorite at the time.
That's right.
So when Jeb Bush was the favorite, so he would just hammer him so hard that somebody else would become the new number one, and then he would relax his pressure on Bush and go after whoever the new number one is, and he just kept doing that. So
nobody was going back. Nobody was going back.
So Trump was always number two. So it was just a matter of time that Trump would win, you know?
Well, I keep saying it. He sucked the oxygen out of everybody's campaign. Yeah. And that's all you were focused on.
Meryl,
we didn't have investigative reporting in those days.
Meryl,
if investigative reporting, it would have been different.
Well, the thing is he got the other candidates to also gang up on the number one. So the person that he attacked in the previous week, he was nice to this week, and then that person would reciprocate nice back to Trump. So then they'd go after the new person. So Trump ended up just being the leader just because he was the leader of the opposition, so to speak.
Meryl, if you could, who is your dream candidate?
My dream candidate?
Yeah, who are you running?
I didn't have a dream candidate. You're all going to get me for this one. I happen to have liked Hillary Clinton, not because I understood all the deficits, but I also understood how.
But I voted for her. I was a huge Hillary Clinton fan.
So I have no problem. I never held my nose when I.
But in 2028, right? I mean, you're not
going to like this one.
I might.
I'm looking at Rahm Emanuel right now. I'm trying to.
I love Rahm Emanuel. I love Rahm Emanuel. I think he's amazing.
I think that you cannot dispute how experienced he is, and quite frankly, when you deal in a presidential race as a Democrat, the one thing that makes him stand out from any other is, pardon my French, he's not going to take shit from anybody. He's a fighter.
Our country would not have elected you, Meryl. The country won't.
I understand that.
And I'm not a Shapiro. I'm not a fan of his for a lot of reasons.
Oh, I know you weren't. You weren't.
But I have valid reasons, and it's not from a Republican standpoint. It's really letting down his community. However, if you took all of that away, and looked at his politics, they wouldn't elect him. And Rahm Emanuel, I agree with you. I like him more than Shapiro, and I think that he's more qualified. I don't disagree with you, but I mean, in the state of affairs as it is, even if you're looking in 2028, do you think things will calm down by then? That they would ever consider that?
I think he's a particularly strong candidate. He gave me an exclusive interview a few years ago, and I was really impressed with his performance because I really drilled him, and he just responded very well.
I think of him. I know people say it's too soon to say anything good about Pritzker, but he's there. I'm waiting to see. I want to see all the candidates.
You can't be that overweight. I mean, I think it's one of those things you can't be that overweight and be president. I mean, it's shallow. It's dumb. But Pritzker's. You can't be that fat and be president. It's just not.
So overweight. What are you talking about?
Don't. He'll be. But believe me, by then he'll have taken some medication and he will be thinner. Don't you remember what Chris Christie did?
Thinner than Trump?
He did the rubber band surgery.
Yeah, and Chris Christie never, he was still overweight. I mean, I think that was part of.
He gained back his weight. He gained back the weight.
Yeah, I think Christie, we have a fat shaming culture that will not forgive those things. I mean, it sucks. It's terrible.
They forgive it for Trump.
Oh, you know what?
It's not the
They
same
won't
kind of
forgive.
fact.
They won't forgive.
Yeah,
the
it's-
other person who I like.
It's not. Yeah, Abby's right. I mean, Trump has mastered his outfits. Like he's
true.
he's mastered his look.
12-foot-long tie.
Yeah, because if you see him in
He's
lighter
tall.
clothing,
He's
you really
tall.
see how obese he is. I mean,
He can handle the.
Wears his tie too long.
Excuse me, Meryl, I have a question for you. I've heard that it's rumored that hundreds of years from now, people will look back on Donald Trump with total awe and nostalgia and just aura. Like, how does it make you feel knowing that so many people in the future will look back on Trump and just view him as like the closest thing to God that has ever walked the earth?
No, historians aren't even waiting. Historians normally wait 20 to 25 years before they start talking about how a president will be remembered in history, and he is not. And believe it or not, Biden will be remembered as an excellent president. Trump will not be looked upon that way.
I don't think so with Biden. I'm not gonna. I think Clinton, perhaps. I'll give that to the Democrats, but not Biden.
I think what Biden had. Yeah. So we always talk about the Washington insiders, right? And what Biden was a Washington insider. So when he walked into office, he knows DC and he knows how to get things done. He knows how to cut deals. He knows all the people. He knows committee structures. He knows. So I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why he could quickly spend $1 trillion. Right? I mean, it was.
It's one of the reasons why he could put together a coalition within 2 days. You have to remember that.
I don't think Biden's going to go down as one of the best or the worst. I think he's someone that got in the office and knew how to function in the office in a way that Trump doesn't, right? I mean, Trump can't function in the office. I mean, and that's not a critique of Trump. It just, he just doesn't have the sensibility.
He's not interested or have an attention span.
In the way that Biden did, right?
Well, when he was better, maybe, yeah.
Howard always says that there's 3 things that matter to Trump. One is legacy, and his legacy is going to be that his name's on everything, and the arch. That I hope somebody comes and tears down if a Democrat wins, and then and not going money.
Meryl, you can't take down federal monuments after you construct them. And it's funny that it's called the Arc de Trump because like the Arc de Triomphe and Trump are so close.
Well, but am I mistaken about this? It's been a long time since I went to Arlington Cemetery. But when I was there, I recall that you could look and you could see like the Lincoln Memorial. You could see that whole area. And with that arch now, you're not going to be able to see that. And I think that's sinful. I think that the most serene thing that we could do.
How would you not be able to see it based on, I mean, I'm just trying to think of where you're placing it because they are on, like if you think about where the Lincoln Memorial is, it's over on the other side of the mall. Like I'm just spatially thinking of where it is. So is this arch going to be, how could it be in front of the Lincoln Memorial? It would seem to me it would be behind, it would be closer to on the White House side of the mall. I have to look on a map.
I've got a reading on this. I thought that it was going to block certain views that I think would be very important.
It couldn't be from Arlington because the Lincoln, you're seeing across the water from Arlington. Have you been to like the National Airport, or Reagan Airport? Like,
no.
That vantage looking, and you go up, what's that, 14th Street when you drive over the bridge? Like, then you see the Lincoln, you see the Jefferson. But I would think this arch is on the other side of the mall.
All right, tell me something. How do you feel about the arch? Do you think it's important?
I could care less. Truthfully, I care more that the Abraham Accords are extended.
Meryl, it's simply a rendering.
I'm answering you. It's
That's
like
saying,
non.
that's saying I don't. That
No, I honestly, I haven't thought about it.
It's a
I'm gonna-
3D
I'll give you
rendering,
an answer.
ladies.
I
Hello?
haven't thought about it. I haven't thought about it. I truly haven't. That's why I'm not even sure where it is, because I'm just not focused on it. Just like the whole thing with the ballroom, I'm not focused on it. I'm focused,
Washington
and a lot
is
of
not-
Republicans, Meryl, a lot of Republicans take this position. His personality drives me nuts. There's so many things that are, offensive and I don't like. And so I focus so much on what comes out as policy. And I kind of like turn a blind eye. I just don't pay attention to the other stuff. And I'm not trying to be facetious or not pay attention to what you're asking. I just really, in very honest answer, I just haven't cared. And maybe I should care. Like, I go to Washington a lot. I like going to the memorials. It's very important to go to them. I agree, you should have great views coming from Virginia looking over the water. I don't disagree with you.
Meryl, everybody loves new construction, Meryl. You're such a Debbie Downer. It's like Disneyland. It's a new roller coaster.
I don't know if that answers you. I'm really being honest. It's just like not something on my radar.
Well,
but I'm going to look at it now. I'm going to.
So I do have an answer. The proposed,
Where is it?
the proposed site actually is in the sight line between Arlington Cemetery and the Lincoln Memorials.
Where is it exactly?
They're talking about it over by the
Where?
what is that square called? Is it called Memorial Square? Or?
So it's on the other side of the Lincoln. Then it's not on the mall side, is what you're saying.
Memorial Circle, Columbia Island.
Oh, okay. So it's on the other side. Wait, let me look at a map.
It's between the cemetery and the Lincoln Memorial.
Okay, so let me look at this.
It's done for a reason. It's done to feature
and the thing is the problem is that it's far taller than the Lincoln Memorial.
Is it just the "In God We Trust" at the top of the memorial that you don't like? Because it's not branded Trump, FYI. The rendering does not show any Trump logo, brand, or anything. So it says "In God We Trust," and it's a 250-year anniversary Arc of Triumph. And he is our president. Meryl, you can't change history despite all your complaints. You'll never stop history.
The arc is not part of history, right?
So it's in Virginia. It's not in the district. It's not in the district. It's going to be in Virginia.
Oh, it's in Virginia.
People got so mad. It's fucking amazing.
If it's a Memorial Circle, that's not in the district. That's on the other side.
FYI, I want to let you guys know that I am working for Psychology Magazine now, and I am actually being published with an article about Trump derangement syndrome, and I'm going to update it with notes from this conversation.
Derangement syndrome. We're going to talk about Trump's narcissism.
Wait. Just so to go back to this, so it's on the Virginia side. Wait, it's not where. Like,
you're right. It's on the Virginia side.
When you go see all the memorials, have you done that? Like, ever go at night and you do all the memorials in DC? It's actually, if you haven't done it, it's a great tour that they do.
I think all of DC is. I think everything about it is. I was awestruck with my children about every single thing we saw in DC.
Oh, but you know that's part of Washington DC.
Did you do the memorials at night, or you went by day?
I don't know if we did them at night. I think we did them by day.
Was how many years ago?
So Abby,
was the
single place we went.
So Abby, it would actually be in DC, by the way.
Excuse me, Abby, I have a question for you. It's about the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. Abby, this is a trivia question. What is the geographic shape of the flooring in the Holocaust concentration camp?
I can tell you actually a lot about that museum because I remember when they were building it, and I knew some of the people that were first round of running it. So I.M. Pei was the architect. If you know who I.M. Pei is, it's
no, I don't know.
Damp. It's like too damp. It's like two different facades of the building. one actually gives you the feeling of that building in Auschwitz, and then the other, I forget what the other half of the building's exterior design is supposed to be, but inside, the way the architect did that is, so it's a chronological museum. You start in the 30s and then you work your way through the period of time of the Holocaust to the end of it. And the actual walkway and pathways through the museum physically get more and more narrow as you go through the years and you go through the process. And then, like, all of a sudden you're at a point when you're going through that museum, you ask what the floors are like, you all of a sudden you're at a point where you have no choice but to walk into a boxcar. And that's how narrow it gets. And then you find yourself in the actual boxcar.
Wait, are you talking about the Skokie Holocaust Museum, or are you talking about
have you guys been to the museum and had this experience? I mean, it's
Yes.
happening. But Meryl, do you remember this part? Like what I'm talking about?
No, what I remember, see, I had just been to Dachau several years earlier. I had been to Anne Frank's house. I had all of that. And that, I was so emotional. So when I went to the Holocaust Museum, and we took my parents and my part of the Holocaust Museum, and where you learning about a little boy, and each scene is something that's happening to him. And then it's not a boxcar, but it's one area that's like a little, did you see that? Where it's a post office. And you take the children into this post office, and they're going to write postcards or draw pictures. And because they're so influenced by what they've seen, and they don't believe that this little boy has been killed. They don't want to believe that because it's not pounded into them that it is, but they want them to be remembered, this boy. So they do. They write these postcards and draw pictures for him. And
I didn't know they did that like that. Yes. I guess because I never went in the children's one. I know when they first opened it, you were to be given someone's identity. And everyone got, I don't know if they still do this, everyone got the identity of somebody, and then you carried that identity through the period of time, and you don't know if your person lived or died. You find out at the end. And there's, I mean, it was pretty impactful, but I never knew they did that with the children's one. I know at the end, there's a room, and so this is interesting because we are, a country that is not showing one faith or another. There's a room that's just like a
why you all in my ear talking a whole bunch of shit that I ain't trying to hear? Motherfucker, you don't know me like that. Motherfucker, you don't know.
Hello? Hello, moderators. Do you know how to use the fucking app? Hello? Is that DJ Pooh? I'm gonna pack you up, DJ Pooh, put you in a goddamn Subway sandwich and put a bunch of tomato, motherfucking lettuce, and some mayo. I'm gonna pack you up, DJ Pooh. I'm gonna put some pepper, some salt, some vinegar, some balsamic vinaigrette. I'm gonna pack you up and put you in a bag for lunch. You ain't nothing but a Subway sandwich, Dr. Pooh. DJ Pooh! I'm gonna get you, DJ Pooh! Scott, can you mute this motherfucker? Howard, kick this motherfucker. Scott, kick this motherfucker. Damn. You're welcome, everybody. What the heck?
How does that happen?
That's interesting.
What the hell was that?
It's a glitch. It's a code. Amazing. Oh god.
Basically, there's a
code.
That was a
there's a
troll.
code you can put like in your profile, and what it does is if you have an iPhone, it will crash your app, and so basically anybody who tries to mute him is going to. It was very annoying, but I can find some comedy in it.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
I had to keep like leaving the room and coming back. So
I know that guy. He is this app for a long time, and he is one wild motherfucker. But he does this thing where he packs you up and makes you into a sandwich and screams at you. He has the craziest, most toxic abuse rooms you've ever heard on this app. That guy is fucking whack.
what was his name?
DJ Pooh, I think he goes by. I think so. He's got a couple of names probably. Listen, gay, black, transsexual men who are entertainers. I mean, as long as they're not violent, like they're exceptional performers. They're very funny. But BB, I didn't kick you from that room earlier because I was recording something, and I know you wanted to talk, but I was right in the middle of making a recording with Bima. We were reading Ayn Rand's book on selfishness.
Man, it was crazy how they
Who kicked me?
and took all.
No, that was me. I kicked you.
Ran a bunch of shit. And that's just how y'all white people been doing every other country y'all pull up through. Y'all just come up with a whole bunch of noise. Can't nobody.
Yeah. That guy colonized the room, right, Big Mac? That was a colonization.
DJ
If you
Pooh
don't mind.
colonized the whole room.
Yeah.
He was enslaved to that shit.
Yeah, we were all enslaved. Like we were in Egypt
that
as
was
slaves. David, I wanted to thank you for your comments today in Gary's room. I really appreciated them.
Oh yeah, no, you're welcome.
That was really nice.
I don't know if they added to them. Yeah, no, I was just doing a deep thought into what, it's just mind-boggling.
It's funny that you came in here, David, and Meryl came back. We got rid of that guy. John figured out how to get rid of him.
No,
Don't
I'm
click
gonna-
on his account if he comes back.
I don't know. My conspiracy theory is that was perhaps another profile that John had.
No.
I thought-
Howard, can you please go explore the app and watch, what real hell sounds like? Have you explored the 10th layers of hell?
But that clip was part of Tropic Thunder.
the Les Grossman skit.
Not the movie?
Yeah. I think it was a strategic,
I'm afraid to block him because if I click on his profile to block it, the same thing's going to happen.
No, Abby, what you do is you go to the top right, click on report recent speaker, and then select him without clicking on his picture, and it'll allow you to report him, and then you can block him.
Okay, wait. I go to the top.
He's from the deepest of the deep trenches here on Clubhouse. Pepe has a lot of experience with Clubhouse's finest in Black excellence. And DJ Pooh is absolutely one of the best examples of Black excellence on this app.
The white colonizer move. He's more of y'all.
Excuse me, what year is it?
Good night to all of you, and thank you very much. It was a very good conversation.
Good night, Meryl.
Meryl, it's always great to see you. Good night, Meryl. David Garcia. Let's go to David Garcia. David, where is the country going? And who would you, if you could have a dream candidate, who would it be and where would they take the country?
we had this room yesterday, Scott. What's going on? I'll say it again.
Because we have new people. We have new people here.
Okay, that's true. We need a unifier. We need somebody that
Libertarian?
is sort of not controversial, who's got respect of society, who can speak to both sides. Who's got a background in something that isn't questionable or illegitimate. It's his esteem somehow in society. I think we need to find a candidate that can transcend a lot of that stuff. Whether I don't know. I think we need to find a leader that war heroes used to be good candidates for this stuff. People that fought and died.
Why do you like warriors? Because they have skin in the game for the country?
Skin in the game. They fought honorably. It's about country. It's about putting your life on the line for the country, which we're seeing less and less of that on some level, other than the men and women in the uniforms now today that are out there fighting, of course. So I don't want to forget about those folks. But yeah, absolutely.
David, they better be intelligent though, right?
I'm not saying put anybody stupid. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Well, it just doesn't seem to me in today's communication paradigm, just because you served overseas honorably and fought in combat to a certain degree. We have a lot of veterans in Congress or in the Senate that are traitor backstabbers and are veterans to the hilt. And they lost their legs, but they still complain nonstop about Trump.
Well, there's things to complain about. There's every president's had something to complain about. I don't care who he was.
If I'm not mistaken, since that's the that group of Florida or one of those states, that they just went missing. The whole car, the kids.
I think there's a reason King Charles came over here. I think he came over here to kick us in the ass a little bit and wake us up. I think his say what you want about the man. He's obviously silver spoon, bloodlines, what have you. But I think his message or what he said was something that a candidate in this country should be speaking about on some level and unifying us in a way that is bigger picture than party. I think the party thing is broken. I think that's clearly the case with the MAGA defense.
Three values that you would that your person that would run for president, just three values that they would lead with.
All respect for everybody in this country, all cultures. I think we need to start with. you know, 5% unemployment at one time in this country, maybe 4. I think we need to figure out how to make this. We need to figure out how to make this country productive again, and what the technology with innovating and educating our youth and tomorrow's leaders with those possibilities. We can't talk about universal basic income and not figure out what that looks like and tell a bunch of folks you're going to wake up one day and not have a job. I think
the country doesn't need to be run by old ass white men. That's what the country needs.
We need a Jewish president.
Well, I mean,
David, what do you think of your governor? How do you feel about him going into national office?
Newsom?
Well, yeah, I thought you still lived in LA, right? You're a Dodgers fan.
This is your final chance. Bow down to
Well,
me, or
I
you
think
will
it's
die.
part of the same playbook, right? Who's going to lead? He's obviously got he's photogenic, he's articulate. He's from a big country, our big economy in California. Now,
Well,
you
your
don't
schedule
like
is
his
unfair.
politics because some people would
See,
say
was
because
that difficult?
the failings
Wait,
in California is not the real and they say, well, you mismanage America the way you mismanage aspects of California. The real training the fire response.
You greet like
The
women. This is your final
California into the fucking ground.
There's net migration.
He's terrible.
But then again, who are we going to choose then? Not him, who? I mean, I think Josh Shapiro's pretty articulate.
He's not going anywhere.
Okay, well then that scratches him off.
I mean, Merrill said Rahm Emanuel, that was her candidate. I don't think he's going anywhere either.
Man's particular distinction from all other living species is the fact that his consciousness
I'm with you.
Yeah, wrong religion that they won't elect him.
Yeah, and his Zionism is on the record.
Well,
So-
yeah, but now I can tell you, I don't like his comments that he's made as, from a alleged Zionist, because he's not strong on it. He just said to give back aid. So,
everybody that's contributed to this country on some level.
His own community will go after those comments. But the point is, he can't. In this climate, there's no way he could get elected, even if he was absolutely hit on every mark as the perfect candidate. I mean, the country's too anti-Semitic to do it. So who's left in the Democratic Party, like really as a contender that could start? I mean, would you say it's got to start now?
I've heard it floated that Hillary's a possibility, even though I know that's probably laughable to some folks. But Hillary's, I think, tempted to maybe throw her hat in the ring. Harris is obviously she's got a possibility of maybe getting that back.
If Harris ran, David, we would lose 53 states.
I know.
Guam, Mars.
I know. It's probably not going to happen. Yeah. But I think, so I think Newsom's the guy, really. I really do. And I think, but I think...
Isn't he under investigation for fraud by the hundreds of million?
Hundreds of millions.
Well, there's obviously, there's entities that he oversees that are obviously being investigated. And who, whether that laid at his feet or his doorstep remains to be seen. But there's a lot.
The hospice stuff you're talking about?
Not just the hospice stuff. There's that, and there's the homeless, the homeless audit, the big massive homeless audit here in Los Angeles that is unearthing, no accountability of where the money went. So yeah, it's I don't know where it goes. It's not been in the press lately, but.
So David, what would the Republican Party? I mean, you're a pretty moderate guy. I mean, with a big heart. And I think you're one of the more intelligent people on the app. What would the Republican Party have to do to get you to cross the aisle?
Well, as I said, I mean, look, I think the right candidate, like instead of, I heard Ben Sass speak the other day on 60 Minutes, right? Some of us might have heard that guy talk. He was messed. Yeah, he's dying, obviously. So the way the guy speaks and the way he's grounded in his faith and his family and he was listing all these things that you should be about outside of your title, outside of your political position. And to me, that was a refreshing outlook on public service. And I said, if this guy was going to live and continue to go on, he'd be a guy that I could vote for, because he's not going to demonize the left. He's not going to come at the right or see the Democratic side. He's going to find consensus. I think we need consensus builders. I mean, there's a reason they call Reagan the Reagan Democrat, right? He's figured it out. Clinton figured it out. He gave Newt Gingrich, he said, look, dude, what do you need? Okay, you want a crime bill? Let's go craft a crime bill. He met those guys on every turn. He said, look, I know I can't fight you. Let's find a common ground. And that's why he had 8 years absent the Monica Lewinsky debacle. I think he had a fantastic 8 years. Somebody like that, that could work the room and work the country and speak to all sides. Like you said, Scott, we can't have a politician that can't talk to the other side. Otherwise, they're going to lose, right? So I think you got to take care of them.
That would be the worst mistake we could ever make.
I know, it's probably not going to happen. Parts of the nation. I'm starting to get used to the guy, really. I really do. But I think
investigation for fraud by the hundreds of million.
Fundamentally,
I guess there's I think electoral college wise it is, but not population wise. I think population wise, with the big states of California, New York, not Florida, that's more right, is Washington, the cities around Chicago. A lot of the population is not center right, but where the votes, where the political machinery,
Conservative by design, in a small state conservative. It doesn't want fast change. So I think that's a personality about our country as well, about the system.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there are days where I flip flop on this. Some days, and Caleb, you know me, I like to nerd out in the 18th century. But there are other days where I think, oh my gosh, let's just basically have a parliamentary system and just let the winners run the country. And then I tend to think about checks and balances, and I think there's an artistry to our system that is really interesting, but also super frustrating.
It hasn't been scaled correctly. But it's not the right size. It's not the right agility. It's not all of those things that couldn't have been anticipated in a world of 13 colonies, right? 50 states, all of the kind of micro regional stuff that really changes a lot from parts of the country to parts of the country. We are.
Are you coming up to it or what?
I think, we're not, the scaffolding isn't right.
Dude, fucking John needs to debate Tamario. They would just get along great.
So why can't the Attorney General Boutros of Illinois file a lawsuit against Producer Johnson, but shut it down for the Supreme Court?
I forgot who it was I was debating in that room of Andrews at one time where that I want to debate that person or somebody with that particular argument, because my argument is the argument tonight. But I don't know who John is. I don't know what John argues, and so I don't know.
I don't know. I think John would fuck you up in a debate, man. But that's to remain to be seen.
And unless you join those swing states, you're not.
Because you bring some heat too. You know what I mean? By the way, what did you get from your delivery driver over there?
So, you know.
Oh, just red wine.
Must be break that system.
All right, man. What are you pouring yourself a cup right now?
That's gonna be the.
Yeah, I might fill my second glass. That was probably about 20 minutes ago. So I've just been kind of chilling, but you know, I'm on glass 2.
No doubt, man. I'll give you because I'm such an enigma. I'm also just going to the being from the hood, whatever, however you said it and how I explained it. I just rolled a blunt too, so I do
Bro, God told me to take the seeds of the earth and grow some shit. So, because I'm gonna do.
Yeah, we shouldn't be
I'm
smoking. Like there's nothing
I'm
wrong.
doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing it. All right.
So,
yes, sir.
yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I don't think Citizens United helped either. I mean, but I don't know where we go from here. I mean, I don't know where we move forward. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe there is a way forward. I just don't see it. Abby, do you see a way forward? I mean, you're somebody that's connected to political circles and things. Do you see a pragmatic way forward where we could heal the divides? Or no? Going once, I'll be going twice. Let's go to Dr. Adams. What's going on? Dr. Adams going once. Let's go to Maria. Maria, do you see a way forward? Pepe, I don't even. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Do I see a way going forward? I don't. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I would say almost no. I don't think.
Not in the way it is now, anyway. I feel personally like the system now has to collapse. It must, in order for us who are, aware and alert to take over and rebuild something new.
That's extreme. So you want so you would rather.
Can you tell that John Kitover, Chicago Mail, is very optimistic about the future because of intelligence?
I mean, everyone who has the power to do something is either on the wrong side or not doing anything at all. And then the rest of us who have to work day to day, paying our fucking shit way through life, have no other choice but to do, just sit here right now, unfortunately.
It even says it in the Bible.
It's not only affecting effect. It's like, it's huge. And unfortunately, I think folks who are blindsided by the cults, propaganda and narrative just cannot seem to stop living in a state of oblivion. And by that I mean they just don't. Someone earlier was like, just don't think about those types of things. I just put it to the side. What? Are you even human? How? I can't do it anyway, and that's just me.
Well, I think it's interesting. You do sound more like. I'll just say, you see, somebody, you have people kind of on the fringe right. You see someone kind of on the fringe left, much more.
I like to call myself moderate. I live in Louisiana, unfortunately, and I was registered independent, but now I don't associate with any party because the independent party Louisiana was dismantled last year in August, and then of course the stupid shit that the governor just did with the Voters' Right Act stuff, which I mean I kind of get why it was a loss. The language that they used to redistrict the maps was just retarded, and I just wish they would use better language to propose the decision that they were trying to make. But also we live in a stupid ass retarded ass state where people live others around us. They're just like praising Lord Trump, blessed by God. Like I just
Well, I think that we'll start moving in a better direction when we reorganize our attitudes towards priorities and towards leisure. I think that that is a good start. I think that a lot of people that displace their grievances on the government as opposed to exercising their own free will to get second and third jobs, where the cost of living is just outpacing their individual input into how they spend their workday. So I think that when we reorganize people's attitudes towards leisures, luxuries, and necessities, I think that we can get more towards a relevant conversation as to who is doing what, who has earned what, who has what, who doesn't, and why. I feel like a lot of that really has been ignored for quite some time, and I feel like we need to return back to basics to where people have their own place, they have their own hierarchy of needs, and they have their own hierarchy of allowances based on their individual input as to how they cultivate resources. I mean, the fact that you have people buying $20 million homes in the same areas, are working in OnlyFans, in the same areas as people who have built businesses and enterprises. I just think that that's laughable, and that's certainly not what America stands for. It's absolutely not. Pornographers in this country are making more than doctors. That's crazy.
So, I really, this is one thing that I think is really annoying when I hear it from like conservatives. They have like doctrinaire prescriptions for everything, like, oh, just self-reliance and focus on yourself and why you are where you are. It's like, okay, buddy, that doesn't mean that a house is gonna be more fucking affordable even after that third job, and it's extremely fucking tone deaf. And what is affordable, Pepe? Like you
what is affordable? Because no. Because there are homes where people have money to put down. It's the fact that people want granite counters, they want TikTok homes, they want a bunch of bougie luxury that they quite frankly didn't fucking scale for, and they did not earn. That is what the problem is.
No,
you're not going to move into a renovated TikTok house if you don't have the income to match it. Get off your ass and get a second or third job if you want to extend your affordability. But don't sit around and complain that there are no affordable options.
You're being ridiculous right now. Nobody's talking about moving into a bougie fucking place. We're talking about the average fucking American home is out of reach for most young adults.
Pepe, don't you think, like I'm thinking about my parents' generation, that a lot of people, came to the realization that they that's why Levitt towns started to crop up around the country.
Different attitudes towards leisure and luxury.
Just hold for a sec. That's why certain suburban areas grew and grew. That you couldn't live in the area where the mansions were, so new neighborhoods started that were more affordable. So it just seems like Adams is talking about like. No, you're not going to live in Santa Monica on the beach. But you might live somewhere in the valley, or if you want to stay in the LA area.
Like far less affordable.
No, I understand that. So then it goes out even farther and even farther. I mean, I see it in the city I'm in, and by the way, in your city, Pepe, you see it where the development went farther and farther, where it became more affordable. Like there are parts of the desert where I can't believe people live in, but. It's how development went, and it stretched out to where they could afford it. So you're not going to necessarily have the ocean view. I don't know what income level you would say that was, middle class or lower middle class at the time when they developed them. But that was the choice.
It was lower middle class. That was heavily a part of our curriculum in the state of California. We studied that, and it actually set the pace for master planning of communities. Donald Wren, who owns the Irvine Company, actually ran with that same model of equally distributing a inventory of housing that is connected with the jobs and the average income of the places of which they're being developed. You know, the other thing too that you want to mention as far as our grandparents' generation and, you know, my parents' generation, you know, people with a family of four, you weren't buying, you know, a 4-bedroom house. You know, you had people that had 5 kids and they lived in a 2-bedroom house. That's just the reality. So when we go into luxuries and comfort as opposed to necessities, these are the type of attitudes that our generation simply will not get on board with to get in line with the affordability of what these economic conditions have to offer today.
That's
So,
maybe with the small portion of the population.
Okay,
not
I'm
most.
asking a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is April 6th, August 16th.
You're right. The Chicago Economic School at University of Chicago did create basically all the inflation and all the woke spending and woke philosophical and woke cultural problems, particularly Saul Bielinsky and many others. Even our Illinois Attorney General is a University of Chicago professor lecturer. I don't know who is he? Like, I never heard of him. We have all these attorneys and federal prosecutors that you never heard of, but they're political appointed positions.
I just, please, Rich, I swear I'll talk to you about it another time. I think he's was incredibly hot when he was younger. Like, that's all I want to say about him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was great looking when he was younger.
I saw pictures of him. He looked like a model.
That big, gorgeous, just drop dead. Okay, so going back to this, so the concept of the development of the suburbs, or, you know, so what you're saying, Adams, that people lived in the 2-bedroom house with the 4 or 5 kids, but then they were able to go into these new towns.
Because they scaled. They scaled.
But how did all these new towns, like especially where Pepe is a really good example. Because think about how far, you know, west development went where you are.
Yeah, went way out west.
Way out west, right? It wasn't like super valuable. I mean, and the homes were, but that was the alternative where people couldn't live like, you know, in PV.
Were you around when the town of Maricopa was being built up?
No, I'm trying to think. No.
Maricopa is like close to Casa Grande.
Okay.
So there's like one highway that leads there into Phoenix, and a whole bunch of people ended up moving out there. People even moved to Casa Grande. And of course, very far west, like Buckeye.
Right. I mean, and they weren't areas you ever thought would develop, but they were cheaper to get homes, and you had companies like Rich and American and American West Homes that went out in these big developments. We had it in Vegas. I mean, it goes all the way up to Mount Charleston. It's down and redoing those
because
areas.
People had different attitudes towards leisure. Now you wanted to go into platted neighborhoods, to go to gastropubs, and to go to other freaking places that you don't belong in. Go keep that on the other side of town. Allow those neighborhoods to develop on their own, and stop putting a bunch of hipster establishments to drive up the cost of food and everything else around it just because you want to go out there on a Saturday night with your girlfriend. Like, I mean, this is how we got here. There were different attitudes towards
Oh my God.
One at a time.
So when it comes to
one at a time, and then I wanted to hear David's take on this, because where he has also developed.
But like where we live, Abby, so Vegas and Phoenix, I think we would always go back and forth.
What was the numbers over like the past 3 months?
And so our experience, I think, is actually a lot different from most of the country.
No,
just
it's
because
using Guru. And actually, I gave the guy
we've been among the fastest growing cities.
Derived from conceptual knowledge. Man's actions and survival require the guidance of conceptual value.
The housing affordability for young people is a lot worse now than it was for people whose generation. A lot worse. And I get it. There's some people who think they're entitled to live. I mean, in really nice areas and a nice loft, or you know, which can cost a fortune in Manhattan or wherever. But no, I mean, I guess people. I'm trying to
in the body
is like that close to Casa Grande. Okay, so you have just like one highway that leads there into Phoenix, and a whole bunch of people and people even moved to Casa Grande.
Experience. None of these have worked over a decade in a world where you're watching an aging generation that's going from living with their parents over towards living on their own and then buying their first homes. So they're not really privy to these conversations other than, what are you talking about? They're not privy to this conversation from a professional standpoint where they're having conversations with their broke friends that complain about these issues on the internet.
Hey, you don't even know my friends. This is ridiculous.
Okay, go ahead.
You work in an apartment complex selling leases. What the fuck do you know about buying a home? I mean, with all
I
due
don't work
respect.
in an apartment complex selling leases.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest issue you have in your shady ass fucking Los Angeles, Adams, is your fucking government officials selling off the fucking rezoning for property that's supposed to be multifamily apartments, and then if somebody comes in and fucking pays them off because they want to build a $100 million fucking mansion. And then on top of that, you also have BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street buying up over 49% of all single-family homes by 2030. So I mean, you can blame fucking Larry Fink, who's paid 50% over market value. He's paid $100 million fucking just BlackRock alone.
And one of the most abusive things they started doing is, they started buying up all of the trailer parks. Pensioners.
Which is $2 billion a fucking year in single-family homes. But yeah, by 2030, he's gonna own 49% of all homes in America.
These to buy the trailer parks, which I think is just like horrible. So basically, they immediately raise the rent. They make it so that in a very expedited fashion they can kick you out on your ass. And basically they're raising out people that are pensioners or whatever. You have some kind of fixed income and just like completely exploiting them economically. And there is, I mean, to me, it's just so fucking disgusting.
Yeah, you should
You're bringing on the most weak and vulnerable people in our fucking population. Shut the fuck up!
Houses like in fucking Pico cities. The second it hits the fucking market,
your fucking autism is so
fucking crazy, right?
Hey, hold on, David. Do you see this trend in LA?
Well,
What we're talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, so just from a 30,000-foot view of Los Angeles, there's been a shakeup in the entertainment industry. You just had an article, guys like Jonah Hill moving south. There's been a flight out of here. I don't know if you guys watch Netflix or the Apple movies and stuff. You get a lot of A-plus listers, but the content isn't the best. Well, there's been a washout of jobs here in Los Angeles with regard to that. LA's always been a kind of a glamour town. We're blessed by great weather, and what I'm going to say is I think that the high cost of living, the social problems have driven a lot of people out of here. Particularly people who want to start a family. Let's say you're an educated college grad or not a college grad, as I'm not saying that's about graduate college, but you're a young couple. You can't live in certain parts of Los Angeles and raise a family safely or even affordably. So you've got issues.
This is ridiculous. Okay. You work in an apartment complex selling leases. Why do you know the buying a home? I mean, with all due respect, in an apartment complex selling leases.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest issue you have in your shady ass fucking Los Angeles, Adams, is your fucking government officials selling off the fucking rezoning for property that's supposed to be multifamily apartments, and then if somebody comes in and fucking pays them off because they want to build a $100 million fucking mansion, and then on top of that, you also have BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street buying up over 49% of all single-family homes by 2030. So I mean, you can blame fucking Larry Fink. He's paying 50% over market value. He's paying $100 million fucking just BlackRock alone.
And one of the most abusive things they started doing is, they started buying up all of the trailer parks where you have pensioners.
Which is $2 billion a fucking year in single-family homes.
Because there's more poor people in Los Angeles than there are rich people. And they drive a lot of politics. They drive a lot of the rental laws, the rental concessions. They're passing a law now where you have to be down 2 months before a landlord can start eviction. So imagine you're a small landlord and you're dealing with renters that want to game the system, and you got to pay your mortgage. You can't go to your bank and say, "Hey, can you give me 2 months before I get
a 30-day late on my mortgage. No, they want that payment on time. So I would say that there's a lot of things broken, and there's a lot of washout of the middle class here. And it's not as fun a place to live when you see a lot of broken people walking through stairwells and parking structures. It's just not a fun place to live when you see humanity suffer like that. It really isn't. It's not fun to walk into your yoga class and you've got to deal with some of that. You're trying to take care of your health, and you realize there's a lot of people hurting out there, and then your politicians, aren't doing anything about it. Like this guy Spencer Pratt, for example, he's a rally. He just got back by Katie Buss, the owner of the Lakers, and he's running an ad saying Mayor Bass is living in a $3 million house while I'm living in a trailer because I can't get my home rebuilt. So, I think he's coming at the problem as surgically as I've ever seen a candidate expose Los Angeles the way that he has. And he might get the money to win. We'll see. And but LA has always had the same exact policies and programs that have gotten us to where we're at today. And I don't think they're working anymore. As much as I like the Democratic policies because they tend to be a lot more fair and they try to protect the guys, whatever. My dad was an educator, so the unions. What are you doing? There's things like that that don't backstop this country and make everybody kind of prosperous on some level. That's not happening.
Biggest dream to come see you. So I have wanted to ask you another question.
What can we do to fix things? And what can we do to help people live in Los Angeles get more affordable? And I don't know if there's a lot of easy answers to that. And I just, I'm still around. I'm still living here. But a lot of my friends have moved on and left. And I feel like there's an emptiness to the area now that I've never felt before. And that's saying a lot because LA is such a big place that it's big and it isn't big. If that makes any sense. But anytime anybody's been through here, Venice Beach, some of the Abby mentioned Santa Monica, these places are dying, and they're dying in ways that are. Businesses going out of, long-standing businesses are shutting their doors now.
David, they're making it worse because in Santa Monica now they're trying to turn the promenade into some sort of, just like drunk crawl, where you can just have open containers in public. I mean, it's going to embolden the homeless people. I mean, aside from that, you go to Santa Monica.
Off from the real world.
You go to Santa Monica, okay, and an average one bedroom is going to cost you about $4,000 a month just to have a washer and dryer inside of your apartment. Think about that for a second, David. Like it's gotten out of control. It's gotten absolutely out of control.
Well, the leases that these landlords want for these businesses is also washing them out as well. So there's a lot of greed that is hurting business' ability to survive.
Well, but they also got to make their money back too, because I mean, if you go to some of these landlords, ask them what their occupancy is, because I mean, they could be charging what they want to charge and list the rental amount for what they want to list it for. Ask what their loss leaders are and ask what their current occupancy.
Well, I'm speaking from, I guess, a standpoint of this is around for 30 years. But we have this rich club in Santa Monica. It's a half a block of First Street Promenade. It's going out of business.
Yep.
And what's replacing it is a Taco Bell. Okay. We're going from an iconic restaurant to a Taco Bell. So, and I don't think wealthy Santa Monicans want to spend money at Taco Bell. I don't think they want to go in there and eat that bad food. So who's gonna patronize that Taco Bell? So anyway, long story longer. I mean, this is a very rich area. And from,
Nothing. Sorry. Patronizing.
Anyway, am I patronizing?
No. Patronizing is never.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Right, exactly. Yeah, so you're gonna live in your multi-million-dollar house. Everything around you is kind of falling apart. So you got to drive in and out of your nice home. And then I don't know if you've been watching the news, but there's been a lot of cases of smash and grab, foreign entities coming into LA, gangs, teams of robbers that are sacking homes, and it's just completely out of
Coming up in troops from Guatemala and doing home invasions and then running over the border in Tijuana. This has been going on for quite some time. But I hear you. As far as the Spencer Pratt issue, I'm not voting for him. I'm absolutely not voting for him for a multitude of reasons. One, I don't see any sort of policy plan to address any other issues other than the issues surrounding him rebuilding his house. I also don't think that he really has any sort of honest intention to listen to what his constituents have to say. And I don't believe that he's going to get very far in the election because I don't think that he's going to get very far with minorities. You're not going to win the mayor of Los Angeles race without speaking to issues of minorities. It's just not going to happen. White people have moved to Santa Clarita. They don't vote in our elections. They moved to Orange County. They don't vote in our elections. Most of the people that are dog whistling and cheering Spencer on are either Hollywood elites, which the good majority of minorities and otherwise are sick of them altogether, or people that live in Texas.
I also got to make that money back too, because if you go to some of these,
bring in a certain type of MAGA sentiment that's just not going to play very well, in this election cycle. So I think he's going to lose.
Brad, can you imagine being so sheltered that you don't understand how the real world works? And I agree.
And it's funny coming from you because you don't seem to have a job now as of late. Now, do you? Because my parents taught me how to operate four wheels without crashing into shit beyond Clubhouse, and you don't see me. You don't see me jobless on Clubhouse with phony business development, right? While your parents are paying their bills. So, what part of this conversation about California belongs to you?
Microbreweries are coming into the South Florida neighborhoods and they're having bar crawls. And oh my God, it's like so bad. Like they just want people to buy drinks.
What do you want to see happen, like in California? So, like I heard you speak kind of rather in a very nice way amongst the, about the homeless people, and I get a lot of them have different issues. But what do you think should happen to them?
They need to return back to states like Rich that, sit and finger point at California. We don't know that these homeless people, we know that these homeless people do not belong to California. They do not belong to California. So I think that we need to send them back. I think that we need to send them back by zip code to the people on the internet that have the strongest opinion about this issue. So all of the homeless people that do not belong to California, I think we need to send them back to the states where they belong, Pepe. And I think that if the states don't comply with taking them back, I think that we need to tax the states. I think that we need to tax the states. We need to drive up the cost of anything coming out of California going to those states until they take their homeless people back.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. He makes a good point. I had a guy that did workouts with. He worked for the city of LA, and they had to sue. Unfortunately, this goes to your part of the world a little bit. They had to sue the city of Las Vegas for sending homeless people here.
Yeah.
There was an incident of that, and
now we just lock them up. We have a whole area we lock. No, I'm not. You think I'm joking? We have a whole area we close them in and keep them in an area separate from the strip, and it's constitutionally protected. So we've gone all the way to the Supreme Court, and we have ordinances that will arrest them if they're sleeping on the streets. So, everyone, Democrats, Republicans alike, think that the most important thing here is hospitality and not to fuck it up. So that was not a hard ordinance to get through. I know it sounds pretty tough the way I'm saying it, but you have to understand that's the lifeblood of the town, and people sleeping in the streets are not going to bring in tourists.
I think what that does is it wakes up those folks that are trying to purposely be homeless. I used to live in Santa Monica, and I live in front of this famous chess park. The city of Santa Monica has since eradicated it because of all the bad activity that was happening. This park was iconic. I mean, I used to play a lot of chess there. And I would go down there during the day, and I'd meet these homeless guys always playing games. They're playing for money, whatever. And one guy, he's rolling.
This should be on Clubhouse. And you don't.
Homeless people, but I said, man, I go, hey, I see you here a lot. You're always playing and having a good time and stuff. I mean, how do you pull this off? He's like, he goes, oh, too many questions, man. I'm just here to play chess. I'm not here to talk about, how I get away with not working all day. I mean, because this is when I first moved to the area when I was in my early 30s, and I was just curious how these guys got by. And there's a level of gamesmanship when it comes to homelessness if you know how to do it. And because our weather's so great here, I mean, you can literally, not ever freeze, sleep in your car, or even on the street, not die from freezing. So, yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't think we should promote homelessness. I think we should figure out a way to get people off of the street. But we just can't manhandle people like that here in California. They don't do that. We can't do that here, Abby. I know they want to do it, but they just can't do it. And that's why Santa Monica suffered for so long, is because that the homeless can just box your business and be out front doing whatever, and nobody's going to want to try to walk through that and try to spend money in your shop when, they see all this, depravity all around them. So, I don't know, man. I don't know how you guys get away with it, but I don't think we're very
actually was in Oregon City that it went all the way to the Supreme Court on having those ordinances. So if you're sleeping on the street, you get a ticket, and you can, if it's more than one offense, you can actually do time. I think it's up to 6 months. And we have to have a place for them to go. I mean, the whole justification was that the county, as well as NGOs like Catholic Charities, etc., built facilities and centers, an area for them to go, and whether they're there just sleeping in a shelter or having a food bank or a detox place. So we had to have a place for them, which they built, but it was across the board, like people sleeping in the streets. With that amount of 40 million tourists coming in every year, but it wasn't our case that won the Supreme Court decision. I'm almost certain it was in Oregon City. Maybe Brad's in here. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was. I had the name up on that topic because it gives a prime example of voting for really wonky policies because of virtue signaling, and now you can't eat at Caesar's Caviar Castle and have to suffer at a Taco Bell, and then it's the end of the world and depravity. It just sounds hollow because, again, you voted for these policies, and the Supreme Court decision was there that the people have a right to a community. You don't have to saying you can't pick up people and say, you know what, you can't sleep on the beaches, you can't shoot needles up, and you can't shit on sidewalks. We're gonna lock you up. That's not an inhumane thing. That's just common fucking sense. You guys have a new disease coming out that we haven't seen for the medieval times, a typhus that hasn't been around since the medieval times, and now all of a sudden it's like a major deal.
Well, I think what was it? Was it the bubonic plague or what was it?
This is a viral bacteria typhus.
No, he was talking about the bubonic plague a couple of years ago. They came across the Mexican border down in the.
No, they had it at Skid Row in LA.
It started from the border cities in California and Texas.
So I don't think that's how the plague spreads.
People spread it amongst themselves.
No,
This new one is coming from fleas on rats, and it's the same thing that blew up the plague.
Yeah, that was the same as the old one. It came from fleas on rats.
Yeah, but I mean, there was somebody who got it. Okay.
I know, it's crazy. People don't have vaccines for things like this.
There's somebody who got it from a rat in countries. There's somebody who got the bubonic plague a few months ago in Arizona, in northern Arizona. From
depravity all around him. So
wild area.
I don't know, man. I don't know how you guys get away.
So, David, I have to find that case where they sued the city. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, there was. So I do know that the Supreme Court. One of the reasons why homelessness was stymied for so long is because the Ninth Circuit said it was cruel and unusual punishment or something. Unless you didn't provide housing for the unhoused, they had a right to be on the streets. I think the Supreme Court reversed that. And finally reversed that, which gave the cities the power to do what you're saying in Vegas. Now,
Grants Pass, that's the case. City of Grants Pass.
What case?
I just found it too. Grand Pass, yeah.
Grants Pass, I guess, versus Johnson's.
Because they said it started over a bench in the park, and it was, I think, that's the same case. It started over a bench in the park, and they just arrested the people. And they got tired of it because literally Grants Pass said, no, you're just not going to loiter about. You either have to have a home, a place to sleep. They even had shelters. They just weren't staying in the shelters.
Yeah,
so it was like it's a.
So there's city of Dana Point. Take them, for example, down in Orange County, where they were able to leverage the removing of homelessness. They invoked the Disabilities Act because the homeless were blocking the sidewalks. And what they did is they leveraged the fact that the disabled couldn't move their wheelchairs up and down the sidewalks. So they used that law as reason to remove their homeless, and they got away with it. And they created an area of the city where they could flip them, and that was their strategy to attack their homeless problem. And it's
ADA compliance. ADA compliance is a very good strategy. Very good strategy.
And that was really smart. I wouldn't have thought of that.
I think it's really clever. Really clever.
Yeah. But the Grand Pass case, I think, is interesting because, again, we still have to have an alternative. I mean, in order to get those ordinances passed, you had to offer shelters and food banks. And, but if they're on the street sleeping and they're cited, a couple times, they're going to jail.
No, the biggest problem that's drug problem. Yeah, I was about to say, like anybody's working with population, they know. Yeah. Yeah, so it's been.
How you paying for your cell phone if you're homeless?
Yeah, so like one of the biggest problems is that though. So what? Okay, amazing. When it comes to any facility, even a homeless shelter, they're not going to allow. Shut the fuck up.
Dude, you're rude.
No, you just want. Why are you talking about?
Somebody left the door open. The hood book is already.
When it comes to any of the large homeless shelters, which I'm sure you have one here, maybe there's other places set up. They don't allow drugs and alcohol, and even if they can sense that you're intoxicated, they don't allow you to stay there. And then even if they find you a place,
you don't know what you're talking about, bro. You never been.
Shut the fuck up!
You never been homeless before, bro.
I literally worked with the population.
Chimps right now.
So, and if you can't, depending on if you have disabilities, for example, if you're, oh my god.
Abby, you have the power.
Fucking ghetto.
They're enjoying it.
This is probably why if you are homeless, this is probably why you have no impulse.
Detroit, Michigan. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, bro.
I don't care.
I'm the richest black man on earth.
Alright, this is troll. Amazing.
No, the richest African is Elon Musk. No, he's not the richest African.
Anyway, when you saw those big shelters, there's
mine is the head of man, and thy insight is keen as the hawk's. My head, I invoke I am the only begotten child of my father and mother. My father is dead. My mother bore me with labor and pain and fear. By my body I invoke thee. About me shine the diamonds of radiance, light and pure. By their brightness I invoke thee. Mine is the red triangle with is the head of the man, and thy insight is keen as the hawk's. My head, I am the only begotten child of my father and mother. My father is dead. My mother bore me with labor and pain and fear. By my body I invoke thee. About me shine the diamonds of radiance white and pure. By their brightness I invoke thee. Mine is the red triangle, reverse the sign given unto sacred thee of thee, O Lord. By the side I invoke Mine is the turban of white and gold, and mine the blue vigor of the intimate air. By my crown I invoke thee. My fingers travel on the beats of pearl, so I after thee in thy car of glory. By my fingers I invoke thee. By the wand of double power and the voice of the master. To invoke. The flaming sword, crown, child, and conquering Lord, Horus, Avenger. By the song I invoke my hand is thy sword of revenge. Let it strike at thy bidding. By the sword I Mine is the head of the man, and thy insight is keen as the hawk's. By my head I invoke child of my father and mother, my father is dead. My mother bore me with labor and pain and fear. By my body I invoke thee. About me shine the diamonds of radiance white and pure. By their brightness I invoke thee. Mine is the red triangle reverse, the sign given of none save in thee, of thee, O Lord. By the Lamb and I invoke thee. Mine is the garment of white, sown with gold, the flashing of light that I wear. By my robe I invoke the sign of prophets and times. By the sign I invoke thee. Is the turban of white and gold, and mine the figure of the intimate air. By my crown I invoke thee. My fingers travel on the beats of earth, so run I after thee in thy power of glory. By my fingers I invoke
mass third world immigration into Western countries, and they do it. They kind of do it from both sides. They do it here, but they also fund and help them. They set up charities to basically help them if they want to make the trek up north. All throughout Latin America. And if we're being realistic, like with Catholicism, it is kind of anti-Catholic to not want immigrants because they're different. Like that, I don't know how else to say. I'm obviously. Mine is the head of the man, and my insight is clear.
was born.